Eleanor stood in the middle of her living room staring at the boxes stacked against the walls. Each one held a piece of her past, a life well lived, but also a life weighed down by things she wasn't sure she needed anymore. The old work suits she'd never wear again, the kitchen gadgets gathering dust, the grudges that still whispered in the back of her mind. Why am I holding on to all of this? At 70 plus, life should feel lighter and freer, yet so many of us carry things both physical and emotional that keep us stuck. What if the secret to feeling younger, happier, and more at peace wasn't about adding more to life, but letting go? Today we're breaking down 8 things you need to release to make room for joy, clarity, and a fresh start. And the first one? It's hiding in your closet right now. 1. Clothes that no longer suit your life. Eleanor opened her closet and sighed. Rows of neatly pressed blazers, high heels she hadn't worn in years, and dresses that once made her feel confident but now felt foreign. Somewhere between retirement and today, her wardrobe had become a museum filled with artifacts of a life that no longer fit who she was. But letting go wasn't easy. What if I need this someday? What if I lose weight? What if I go somewhere fancy? Sound familiar? We all have those just-in-case outfits, the ones we keep for an event that never comes, the ones that remind us of the body we had 20 years ago, rather than the one we celebrate today. Here's the truth. If it's not comfortable, if it doesn't make you feel amazing, if it belongs to a past version of you that you've outgrown, it's time to let it go. Imagine opening your closet and only seeing clothes that make you feel confident, comfortable, and like yourself. No guilt, no nostalgia for a body or lifestyle that no longer exists, just you dressing for the life you have now. Eleanor did exactly this, and with each piece she let go of, she felt lighter. She kept the soft cardigans she loved, the stretchy pants that moved with her, and the blouses that made her feel effortlessly put together. The rest, she donated, knowing that someone else would love them. Because at 70 plus, life isn't about dressing for the past, it's about embracing who you are right now. 2. Old furniture and unused items. The dining table had been in Eleanor's home for 30 years. It had hosted holiday feasts, birthday cakes, and late-night chats over tea. But now, it sat mostly unused, its heavy wooden chairs more of an obstacle than a necessity. Her home, once full of laughter, had become a storage unit for things she no longer needed. The oversized couch, the china cabinet filled with dishes no one touched, the exercise bike that had become a coat rack, it was all taking up space, both physically and emotionally. Here's the thing. We hold on to furniture and items because they hold memories, but memories don't live in things, they live in us. Eleanor decided to keep a few meaningful pieces. Her favorite reading chair, a small dining table perfect for hosting intimate dinners, and the lamp that always made her feel cozy. The rest, she passed on to younger families who needed them, and suddenly, her home felt bigger, more open, more like a place where she could move freely, rather than tiptoe around things she no longer used. At 70 plus, your home should be a place of ease, not clutter. Every piece of furniture should serve a purpose, comfort, joy, or function. If it's just taking up space, it might be time to let it go. 3. Excess kitchenware and appliances. Eleanor used to cook for a family of 5. Now, it was just her. Yet somehow, she still had 3 sets of mixing bowls, 5 slow cookers, enough silverware for a small army, and gadgets she had no idea how to use. The kitchen, once the heart of her home, had become overstuffed with items she barely touched. She knew she wasn't alone in this. So many of us accumulate kitchen tools over the years: bread makers, blenders, special knives for things we don't even cook anymore. But here's a secret. You don't need 6 spatulas to make a good meal. Imagine opening your cabinets and seeing only what you use. No more digging through clutter just to find your favorite coffee mug. No more shuffling through dozens of plates when you only need 2. Eleanor kept her favorite cookware, the sturdy pots, the one good knife, and the plates she used daily. The rest, she let go. And suddenly, cooking felt simple again. Because at this stage in life, the goal isn't to have more, it's to have just enough to make life easy. 4. Old grudges and resentments. Eleanor was washing dishes when an old memory resurfaced, one she had tried to push away for years. It was a disagreement with a close friend, long ago, over something she couldn't even fully remember. They had parted ways, neither willing to make amends. And now, that friend had passed, and Eleanor was left holding on to something that no longer had a place in her life. Here's the thing about grudges: they don't hurt the other person, they weigh you down. Carrying resentment is like holding onto a heavy suitcase for decades. The longer you cling to it, the harder it is to move forward. Eleanor realized she had spent years carrying unnecessary hurt, and for what? The person she had been angry with was gone, but she was still here, and she deserved peace. Because after 70, the only things worth carrying forward are joy, love, and lightness. Everything else, it's time to set it down and walk away. 5. Unrealistic expectations for yourself. Margaret always believed she should be doing more. Even at 72, she felt guilty for slowing down. She should still be hosting big family gatherings. She should be keeping up with every new trend. She should be as active as she was in her 50s. The word should became a constant weight, turning even joyful moments into silent disappointments. If she rested, she felt lazy. If she said no, she felt selfish. If she didn't meet an expectation, one that she had set, she felt like she was failing. Sound familiar? We are often our own toughest critics. But here's the truth: there is no rule book for aging. You don't have to fit into some perfect version of what a 70-year-old should look like, act like, or feel like. Margaret finally did. She stopped forcing herself into expectations that weren't hers. She started saying no to things she didn't want to do. She let go of the guilt of not being productive every second of the day. And in that space, she found something she hadn't had in years: peace. Because at this stage in life, the only person you need to impress is yourself. 6. Toxic relationships. Helen sat at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. She had just finished yet another exhausting conversation with an old friend, one who had spent the entire call complaining, criticizing, and dragging her into drama she wanted no part of. She hung up and felt it, the familiar feeling of drained energy, of carrying emotional baggage that wasn't hers to carry. We often think that just because a relationship has lasted a long time, it must continue, but the reality, not everyone deserves a place in your life forever. Some friendships, family connections, or social ties become toxic over time. And at 70 plus, your peace is too precious to be sacrificed for the sake of history. If the answer is yes, it might be time to let go. Letting go doesn't mean you have to create conflict. It can be as simple as setting boundaries, not answering every call, saying no when it doesn't feel right. Slowly create distance between yourself and negativity. Helen finally did it. She stopped calling back the friend who only brought stress. She prioritized people who made her feel energized, inspired, and happy. And the result, her days felt lighter. Instead of being weighed down by someone else's problems, she had the emotional space to enjoy her life, her way. Because after 70, your time is too valuable to spend on people who don't bring joy into your world. 7. The need for everyone's approval. Eleanor sat across from a friend at lunch, nodding politely as she listened. But inside, she was for years she had shaped her choices around what would make others happy, what her children thought was best, what her friends expected, what society said a woman her age should do. And now, at 72, she had a question rattling around in her mind: when do I start living for myself? We spend a lifetime being conditioned to please others, to be the good daughter, the perfect mother, the selfless grandmother. But at what cost? When you constantly seek approval, you end up living someone else's version of your life, not your own. Here's the truth: no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. So why waste your time trying to satisfy them? Eleanor realized she had spent too many years putting everyone else first. She decided it was time to put herself back in the equation, to make choices based on what made her happy, not what others expected. And the irony: once she stopped chasing approval, people respected her more, because confidence, true confidence, comes from living authentically. At 70 plus, it's time to stop asking for permission and start owning your life. 8. Fear of trying something new. Helen always wanted to learn how to paint. She had dreamed of standing in front of a canvas, colors swirling, creating something uniquely hers. But every time she thought about signing up for a class, her mind whispered, "You're too old to start now." That fear, it's something many people carry. This idea that at a certain age, doors close, possibilities shrink, and adventure belongs to the young. But here's the truth. There is no expiration date on joy. The point? Fear is just a feeling, not a fact. Helen finally signed up for that art class. She was nervous and unsure, but she went anyway. And the moment she dipped her brush into the paint, she realized something. It didn't matter if she was good at it. It only mattered that she was doing it. So if something is pulling at your heart, whether it's travel, dance, writing, or learning an instrument, go for it. Life is too short and too precious to let fear keep you from your next adventure. All right, let's be real. Lighter closets, lighter hearts, and zero unnecessary stress. That's the dream, right? Life at 70 plus isn't about holding on. It's about making space for joy. So what's the first thing you're kicking to the curb? Drop it in the comments. I'll bring the confetti.